It's 2 in the morning. Your dog has their own bed somewhere in the house. A soft one, comfortable, probably brand new, and yet here they are again, circling your mattress, turning 3 times like they're calibrating something invisible, then finally dropping down right against your leg, taking up about 80% of the bed, leaving you the remaining 20%. Most people laugh when this happens. They assume it's simple. Maybe the dog is cold. Maybe it's just a habit. Maybe your dog is a little clingy. But behavioral neuroscience tells a completely different story, because what your dog is doing when they choose to sleep next to you is actually one of the most complex expressions of trust, attachment, and evolutionary bonding that exists between 2 different species. And most owners have absolutely no idea what it means. Tonight, we're going to break down the psychology behind it. Because once you understand what your dog is really saying when they choose your bed over their own, you might never look at that 3 a.m. bed invasion the same way again. The warmth theory and why it's wrong. All right, let's start with the most common explanation people give. Warmth. Dogs get cold. Humans are warm. Simple, right? Except there's one problem. Your dog already has multiple warm places in your home. Sunny spots on the floor, the couch, the carpet, the pile of laundry you left on the chair. If warmth was the only goal, your dog would have plenty of options, but they don't choose those places night after night. They choose you, and that's because sleep is the most vulnerable state any animal can experience. When a dog sleeps, their guard drops. Their senses dull. Their reaction time slows. In the wild, this is when predators attack, which means every instinct your dog inherited from thousands of years of survival is telling them one thing: find the safest place possible. And somehow, in a house filled with quiet corners and hidden spaces, your dog chooses to sleep beside a human that weighs 10 times more than they do. That decision isn't about temperature, it's about trust. The attachment bond scientists have actually tested this. Researchers at Eötvös Loránd University in Budapest wanted to know something fascinating. Do dogs bond with humans the same way babies bond with their parents? So they used a famous psychological experiment called the strange situation test. This test was originally designed to study how infants attach to their mothers. The experiment observes how a child reacts when their caregiver leaves the room and how they behave when that caregiver returns. When researchers applied the same test to dogs, the results were shocking. Dogs behaved almost identically to human infants. They showed tanguin years, perpetuity, distress when their owner left, comfort when their owner returned, relaxation when reunited, and a strong desire to stay close to their safe person. In fact, about 61% of dogs tested showed secure attachment to their owners. Almost the exact same percentage found in human toddlers. Think about that for a second. Your dog doesn't just see you as someone who feeds them. Their brain recognizes you as their primary source of safety. And sleeping beside you is the ultimate expression of that attachment. And because when your dog sleeps next to you, they are choosing to be vulnerable in the one place they feel completely protected, you, the chemistry behind the bond. But the psychology is only half of the story, because something else happens when your dog looks at you, right? Something biological. In 2015, scientists at Asabu University in Japan made a discovery that stunned the scientific world. They measured levels of oxytocin in both dogs and their owners. Oxytocin is often called the love hormone. It's the chemical released in your brain when you hug someone you care about. It's the same hormone that floods a mother's brain when she holds her newborn baby. During the experiment, researchers simply had dogs and owners interact normally, looking at each other, petting each other, playing. What they discovered was extraordinary. When a dog gazed at their owner, both the dog and the human experienced a surge of oxytocin. The dog's brain released it, the human brain released it, which made the dog want to look at the human more, which released more oxytocin, which strengthened the bond. It became a biological feedback loop. Scientists call it the oxytocin loop, and here's the wild part. They tried the same experiment with wolves raised by humans. The loop didn't happen. This chemical bonding system evolved specifically between dogs and humans over thousands of years. No other species on Earth shares this response with us, and physical contact amplifies it, which means when your dog presses against you while sleeping, that bond is literally being reinforced at a chemical level. 15,000 years of sleeping together. The next part of the story goes back further than most people realize, much further. Long before cities existed, before agriculture, before written language, our humans were already sleeping beside dogs. Around 15,000 years ago, wolves began approaching early human camps. They were drawn by food scraps, warmth from fire, and safety. But only certain wolves came close. The friendliest ones, the least fearful ones, those wolves survived as better than the aggressive ones. They reproduced generation after generation. They slowly changed. Eventually, they weren't wolves anymore. They became the first dogs. And archaeological discoveries prove us just how deep that bond became. In Germany, scientists discovered a burial site from 14,000 years ago. Inside were the remains of two humans. Yeah, and beside them, two dogs. One of those dogs had survived a severe disease called canine distemper, a disease that would have required weeks of care to survive. Someone thousands of years ago had nursed that dog back to health, which means even then, dogs weren't just tools, they were family, and evolution reinforced that connection. Genetic studies show that dogs carry special genetic changes linked to extreme friendliness toward humans. These genes don't exist in wolves. Dogs were literally shaped by evolution to seek human contact, to bond with us, to stay close. So when your dog jumps onto your bed tonight, they're not doing something unusual. They're repeating a behavior that has been selected for across 15 millennia. What happens to your brain when your dog sleeps beside you, right? Now here's where the science gets really interesting. Researchers at the Mayo Clinic conducted a sleep study involving dog owners and their pets. Participants wore sleep tracking devices for an entire week. Scientists wanted to measure sleep quality. The results were surprising. Objectively, dogs did disturb sleep. They moved, they stretched, they shifted positions during the night. But when participants were asked how they felt in the morning, almost all of them said something unexpected. They felt more comfortable sleeping with their dog nearby, more secure, more relaxed, even though their sleep had technically been interrupted. Why? Because the human brain is wired to relax when a trusted presence is nearby. These, for most of human history, people didn't sleep alone. Families slept together, tribes slept together, groups slept together for protection. Sleeping alone in a silent room is actually a modern invention. Your dog might not be ruining your sleep. They might be activating something ancient in your brain, a deep evolutionary memory that says, you're not alone tonight. Nervous systems that sync. A study in Finland discovered something even more fascinating. Researchers monitored the heart rate variability of dog owner pairs. Heart rate variability, or HRV, is one of the best indicators of stress in the nervous system. High HRV means relaxation. Low HRV means stress. During the experiment, researchers noticed something strange. When the owner relaxed, the dog's HRV changed to match. When the owner became stressed, the dog's nervous system responded. Their physiological states were synchronizing. Two completely different species sharing the same emotional rhythm, and the strongest synchronization occurred when they were resting together, including when they slept beside each other, which means something incredible is happening every night in your bedroom. Two nervous systems when your dog suddenly stops sleeping with you. But there's one final piece of this story, and it's the most important. If your dog has been sleeping beside you for months or years and suddenly stops, don't ignore it. Dogs are creatures of habit. When a deeply established behavior changes overnight, there's always a reason. Sometimes the cause is environmental, a new pet, a new person in the house, a change in routine. Dogs are incredibly sensitive to changes in their territory, but sometimes the reason is physical. Veterinary researchers have found that changes in sleep location can be one of the earliest signs of pain. A dog who stops jumping onto the bed might not be avoiding you, they might simply be hurting. In an older dog, changes in sleeping behavior can signal cognitive decline, something similar to dementia, which affects roughly 35% of dogs over the age of 8. So if your dog suddenly changes where they sleep, pay attention, because behavior is the only language they have. So the next time you wake up at 3 in the morning with only 6 inches of mattress left, and 80 pounds of dog pressed against your legs, remember what's actually happening. Your dog chose you, not the couch, not the floor. Not the warm spot near the heater, you. Because thousands of years of evolution, a powerful neurochemical bond, and an attachment system built to mirror the relationship between parent and child all led to this one simple behavior, sleeping beside you to your dog. That spot next to you isn't just comfortable, it's the safest place in their world. And according to science, it might be doing something for you too. If this changed the way you see your dog, make sure you subscribe. And tell me something in the comments, where does your dog sleep tonight? Because in the next video, we're going to talk about something even stranger, why your dog stares at you the way they do, and the science behind it might surprise you, from two different species quietly regulating each other.